All right, hello there, guys. I should be live now, I think. Yeah, I should be live. Right, this isn't a long stream, really. It's just a roundup on everything that's been going on, basically, with the immigration figures from March 2021 to March 2022. A big shout out to Little Miss because she broke down all of these figures and put them onto the website. So, without her breaking them down, it would have been a lot more difficult to clear this out for everyone. So, big shout out to Little Miss. So, first things first, I'll clear out the illegal immigration side of things. This year, bear with me 2 seconds, I just got to shut the window. Sorry about that. Yeah, this year, in terms of illegal immigrants, we've had almost 10,000 illegal immigrants arrive by boat that we know about. We haven't got figures for the lorries, and we haven't got figures for any other overstays on their visas, etc. So we haven't got those figures yet, but we will get them eventually. In 2018, there was 299 illegal immigrants that arrived by boat. In 2019, there's 1,843. Then in the year 2020, there was 8,466. And then in 2021, it was 28,526. And then 2022, the year we're in now, is almost 10,000. So you can see how these figures are going to climb, and you can see how they're getting out of control. And this year, it's predicted that there's going to be 60,000 to 100,000 illegal immigrants by boat that we know about. So you can see the scale of this problem, and you can see it's growing out of control. But those figures are absolutely nothing compared to what's coming over legally. So I'm going to break it down a little bit so people can get a clear understanding of what's going on. For instance, there's going to be a lot of figures thrown at you, and like you may have to rewatch back to get a clear picture of how many are actually coming over. But I'll try and break it down the best I can with the help of Little Miss breaking it down on the articles. So we'll start with the work visas. Last year, between March 2021 and March 2022, there were over 1 million visas handed out. But these are the figures that the Home Office have released. And I just thought before I go on a long break and step away from everything for a little bit, I'd round up the figures the best I can for everyone. So here we go. The work visas, there were 277,069 work-related visas granted in the year ending March 2022. That's a 129% increase in the year ending March 2021. And then moving on to the study visas, there were 466,611 sponsored study visas granted to both main applicants and their dependents. That is 58% more than in the year ending March 2020, which is over 170,000 more people. Chinese nationals were the most common nationality, making up 25% of visas, and the largest increase in study grants awarded went to Nigerian students. Family visas and permits. There were 301,830 visas and permits granted for family reasons in the year ending March 2022. That's 90% more than in the year ending in March 2021. 205,889 dependents of people coming to the UK on other type of visas was up 171% in the last year. 51,148 EUSS family permits were issued in the year ending March 2022 to family members of people from the EU, Switzerland, Norway, Iceland, or Liechtenstein. Now, as I said, there's going to be a lot of figures thrown at you. So if you need to rewind and think back on the figures, that's fair enough. But I'm just going to keep going so people can get a rough idea of what's actually going on. Extensions to stay. There were 401,963 applications to extend a person's stay in the UK last year. Asylum. This is only up till March 2022. Of course, there's been more since. There were 55,146 asylum applications relating to 65,008 people in the UK in the year ending March 2022. The highest number of applications for almost 2 decades since 2003. 75% were granted asylum at the initial application stage. Of the top 10 nationalities applying for asylum, half have a grant rate above 80%. Iran, 88%, Eritrea, 97%, Syria, 98%, Afghanistan, 91%, and Sudan, 95%. 66% of asylum applications were males aged 18 to 49. There were 109,735 asylum seekers waiting a decision as of the end of March 2022. Of course, that figure will now be higher. We currently have 85,007 people in the asylum system who are receiving accommodation, subsistence, cash support, or both. The UK received the 4th largest number of asylum applicants in Europe. The Afghan resettlement scheme. More than 7,000 people have been relocated under the scheme so far that we know about. Obviously, the figure will be higher now because this is only till March 2022. The Ukraine scheme, by the 31st of March 2022, a total of 60,482 applications were received. The Hong Kong scheme, there have been a total of 92,299 grants out of country visas made between the 31st of January 2021 and the 31st of March 2022, and a total of 21,443 grants of in-country visas made between the 31st of January 2021 to the 31st of March 2022. Settlement. There were 111,760 decisions on applications for settlements in the UK. Citizenship. There were 180,493 applications for British citizenship. 196,085 grants of British citizenship were awarded. Immigration detention. At the end of March 2022, there were 1,440 people in immigration detention. 24,918 people left detention in the year ending March 2022, which is 93% more than the previous year. Just under 3/4, 73%, had been detained for 7 days or fewer. Returns. In 2021, enforced returns from the UK decreased 2,761, and the majority were EU nationals and returns of foreign offenders. So if anyone wants to see these figures to get some sort of truth, if they don't believe what I'm saying or they're questioning any of the legitimacy of these figures, just go onto the Home Office statistics. There's a link in the bio, and you will see it all for yourself. These are the figures that the Home Office released. This is, I know it's depressing to hear, but these are figures that people need to hear and they need to know, and it needs to be put out into the public eye. So this is the reason I've done it. And once again, big shout out to Little Miss for breaking that down so we can all actually have the figures there chopped up and put into place. There's also, I'm going to explain the chain migration, which is another article that Little Miss wrote out, which she's doing God's work, to be honest with you. So I'll read it out for you for those that don't get round to actually seeing the articles. When people see illegal immigrants stepping off a boat at Dover, some think that's the end of the story. One more body to add to the surging population figures, but that isn't the case at all. 75% of asylum requests are granted on the first application. Out of those who refused, over half gained the right to remain upon appeal. At the end of March 2022, there were 89,344 cases relating to 109,735 people awaiting a decision on asylum. Anyone who has been granted asylum or humanitarian protection in the UK through resettlement schemes becomes entitled to apply for a family reunion visa free of charge. In 2020, 5,668 applications were received for family reunification, and that figure increased to 10,114 in 2021. Please note this figure is for applications only. Family visas can be issued to multiple people, wife, partner, or wives, as you most of you know. There's more than one wife, most of these people, children and dependents. Sorry. Dependents can apply to whole families, 3 generations being allowed in through the family reunification scheme. A man arriving via dinghy at Dover could apply for his wife, his children, his siblings, and his parents to enter the UK by saying they're all his dependents. Let's use last year's figure of 10,114 family reunion visa applications and say Mohammed, who arrived in the UK via dinghy, applied after he was granted asylum. He applied for his wife, 6 children, and 2 elderly parents to come to the UK, as they're all his dependents. That one application equals 9 people. So if there were 10,114 Mohammeds with the same circumstances, that would mean an extra 91,000 people were let into the country from the initial 10,000. In 2021, the 2 countries of origin for family reunification visas came from Sudanese and Eritreans who had been granted asylum. Just bear this in mind. Every time you see a man stepping off a boat at Dover, it doesn't end there. That man could potentially bring in another dozen people, or maybe more if he has more than one wife. So you can see the scale of this problem, and you can see how bad this is growing out of control. And you can understand that whilst everyone calls it a conspiracy and they call it a theory and they say this and they say that, the facts can't remain that the Great Replacement is real and it is happening in front of our face. And the absolute sheer scale of immigration happening under a conservative government is unprecedented. People sit there and they go, it could be worse under Labour. It has never, ever been worse than it is now. This is what people need to understand. And I know it's difficult to get your head around, and everyone goes, oh, but Tony Blair, Tony Blair. Tony Blair was in 1997. We've had a conservative government in charge for 12 years, and the numbers are completely unprecedented. There is no scale that has ever happened in terms of immigration that is happening now. And this is the whole reason of this video, just to break down the figures and show everyone that whilst yes, illegal immigration is a huge problem, and I'll spend an awful lot of time covering it to highlight the problem, the fact remains that legal immigration is far worse. All of these figures are from legal immigration, which people daren't talk about because they get fear of being called racist or whatever, but the reality remains the same. It doesn't matter whether they're illegal or legal, they need houses, they need jobs, their children need school places, you need financing and paying for benefits for all of these people that do not work. So ultimately, this is costing the taxpayer an absolute fortune, and none of these people are getting deported, and none of them will get deported. So ultimately, there's going to be new cities popping up all over the country in the Greenbelt, just so they can put these people into the country and make room for it. Now, whether you support immigration or you oppose immigration, it's irrelevant. The figures are unsustainable, and a country cannot survive under this sort of pressure. So the problem is, moving forward, what are people going to do to this? Because ultimately, you can either sit back and you can sit there and you can make silly remarks like, oh, well, don't worry, guys, they're going to Rwanda, or don't worry, guys, it could be worse under Labour. It doesn't matter. The problem is, it is worse, and it's going to get far worse, because ultimately, if you keep voting for these 2 parties, you're never going to get change. And yes, there are alternatives. There are UKIP, there are Reform, there are Reclaim, there are all these parties that you can move forward to and you can support, and you can give them your vote. And yes, it may feel like a wasted vote. It may feel like you're pissing in the wind when you're voting, but you're not. We're still the majority. There's still enough of us to put our X's in a box, put them behind one party, and make serious, significant change. But all the while you keep voting Tory to keep out Labour, you're actively supporting this. You're giving your blessing to the Conservatives to carry on doing this. So the whole reason of this video, I know it hasn't gone on for long, it was only a quick 15-minute video, but the whole point of this video is just to highlight the fact that we are being replaced. It's happening in front of our face. The Tories are laughing when people say that it could be worse under Labour, because they know that these people, whilst everyone goes, yes, we're important, Labour are important votes. No, that's what the Conservative Party are doing, and they're laughing when you say that you blame it on Labour. And people need to get their head around the situation and understand that this will not change unless you vote for change. You have to do it. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to vote for someone that you don't like. If you don't like UKIP, or you don't like Reform, or you don't like Reclaim, or you don't like any of these other parties, you're going to have to get your head past that and say, I don't care, because at the end of the day, those people are more like you than the Tories and the Labour. Tories and Labour do not care about you. They do not give one tiny little ounce of care to the people of this country. All they care about is GDP. That's all they care about. So ultimately, whilst everyone keeps doing this, the problem's going to exaggerate, and the problem's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. So ultimately, you're going to have to bite that bullet and vote for somebody else. And I know everyone sits there and they go, if voting worked, they wouldn't let us do it. But that's all we have at our disposal. We have nothing else. We have no other alternative. Unless people want to go out into the street and riot and cause massive civil unrest, which I don't think the country's ready for, you're going to have to put your eggs in a different box. It's as simple as that. There is no other way around it. So on that, I will leave you guys. And thanks for all tuning in and listening. But I just had to get it off my chest and just point out the fact that people need to see the scale of this problem. As I'm taking a little bit of a break. I was the UKIP immigration spokesman, but I've stepped away. I've got a few family issues that I need to sort out and work-related problems. So until I get all of that sorted, I won't be involved in politics for a little while. So I thought I'd clear this out. I've got the demo on the 4th, which I hope as many of you can turn up to as possible. And then after that, I'll be taking a month's break at least, so I can reevaluate my plans moving forward and go from there. But thanks for listening, guys. Really appreciate it. Take care.